Here we go again. Right, how do we know that this is an administering government? Well, there are quite a lot of ways, but we're on the Criminal Code Act 1995, and we're addressing Pauline Hanson in the Senate. And Pauline and Jacinta and Jackie have been approached by us in the last few weeks in relation to their role as senators. So we keep going through this criminal code to make it very evident to all of you as Australians what's actually going on. Now, this government is occupied, manipulated by United Nations. The St Edward's Crown is not your Australian imperial crown. They are an occupying foreign power under a foreign faith. The Stone of Remembrance in Melbourne anchors the realm, and Charles III stands on the Stone of Destiny, or the Stone of Scone, which is moved between London and Scotland. It is not the Stone of Remembrance linked to your Anzac. Now, concentrating on the criminal code, Pauline, we just want to make it aware that Division 71, because this is your criminal code, and I don't see any reason for a de jure country to have any law related to the United Nations. Being told by a foreign entity what to do will demonstrate an act of treason in a de jure country, Pauline. But Division 71, offences against United Nations and associated personnel. Why would that exist in the criminal code at all, Pauline? Would it be because United Nations personnel are the ones that run this country and you're the ones that are lackeys to them? Would that be the reason why? Because you sold to people out and conned to people out everything they are in their total ignorance, believing you could control a usufruct? But you broke the law controlling that usufruct, Prime Minister. So we just make it aware to all of the people that Division 71 is all about protecting the United Nations while they're in your country. Murder of a UN or associated person is imprisonment for life. Manslaughter of a UN or associated person, imprisonment for 25 years. Intentionally causing harm or to a UN or associated person, aggravated offence, imprisonment 25 years, penalty, imprisonment 20 years, recklessly causing serious harm to a UN or associated person, right? Intentionally causing harm to a UN or associated person. What this means, everybody, is the police. The New South Wales Police, right? They're the ones smashing all your windows. They're the ones that created all the international criminal offences inside New South Wales jails. They're the ones that are linked to the United Nations. And police prosecutors across the whole entire country, they don't work for Australians. They operate for the prosecution out of The Hague. They're all part of some association of prosecutors out of The Hague. They all abide by the rules that The Hague puts forward in relation to prosecution. Okay? Because this government's under Hague Conventions as a military occupying power, controlling and manipulating your finances and your trade and putting you into slavery. Okay? So Section 270 of the Criminal Code goes into slavery, and we'll go into that next. But recklessly causing harm to a UN or associated person. Imprisonment 7 years. It's just kind of weird that the next act, unlawful sexual penetration of a UN associated person. Unlawful sexual penetration of a UN or associated person. That's the weirdest addition of law between an occupied and an occupier, isn't it, Pauline? You've got this in the criminal code. It's illegal to penetrate the genitalia or anus of a person, right? And then under Section 1B, the other person is a UN or associated person. under 1C, the UN or associated person is engaged in a UN operation that is not a UN enforcement action, like the police. Right? And we can directly see this by the actions of Daniel Andrews attacking people on the holy ground at the Shrine of Remembrance in the King's Domain, Pauline, in the King's Domain. So what's the United Nations doing in the King's Domain, Pauline? And what's the United Nations doing having a whole entire section, Division 71, on protections of them, right? Over and above us, the people. Over and above us, the people. Because like now, kidnapping a UN or associated person, imprisonment 15 years. Unlawful detention of a UN or associated person, imprisonment 5 years. Intentionally causing damage to a UN or associated person's property, imprisonment 10 years. You know, so you set this up so you occupy our land and then protect yourselves inside the criminal code from us being able to do anything about it. Here's the bottom line, Pauline. And you sat there in a parliament and you committed heinous wars, crime, criminal offences, heinous criminal offences, right? We're talking about crimes against humanity. We're talking about crimes against nature. We're talking about Nuremberg offences, Pauline, right? And it's very, very, very evident that you've set yourselves up so that we can't even stand up while you commit offences against the whole entire planet. And I make that accusation, Governor General, because where are you right now? You're in the Ukraine committing war crimes of a heinous nature against an entire population of the Donbass region that just wanted what? Self-determination, according to the United Nations. And you denied them that self-determination at the full extent of war. So now you have a problem, Pauline. We speak on an international stage in front of the entire world now. What is a war crime, Pauline? What is it when a foreign curial power sits in that parliament creating these war criminal offences in the international scope, under Hague, Geneva and all of the rest of it? A Rule 92 offence was written on the law books for a reason, and as administrators you've overstepped your mark, very clearly in New South Wales, as put on the court record by Justice Lonergan. So Pauline, we get to this crux point where we recognise what's going on, and we recognise that you've manipulated it to a point where we are so subordinate to everything that this government is, we can't even step up and rise against it. Now, this is our opportunity to rise against it, and we will not back down. You are war criminals. You have created heinous criminal offences worldwide. You have slaughtered people in other countries on behalf of banking powers. You have used our boys across the lands to create war crimes offences in the Brereton report, Pauline. This is serious stuff, and it's going to come to a head. These people don't realise how serious this is. So when we address you, Albo, what is going on with the voice? What is going on with the Uluru Statement? What is going on with our finances? What is going on with the consolidated revenue? Why are you continuing to put this country into debt in its ignorance? Why are you continuing to put the people into slavery? After committing all these offences, Prime Minister, I didn't commit any offences, and look at the way you've treated me over the last 15 years. Is it any wonder we stand here today pointing the finger at you for all of your criminal offences and detail them in audio and put them on a record? Pauline, I'd suggest you get on a plane. I'd suggest you come visit. I'd suggest you sit down and understand very, very clearly that this is not a game anymore. I'd suggest you understand that having been put through the courts and put on the court record and accused of being a terrorist organisation by New South Wales Police, and having been proven otherwise, having been proven naked owners to the Constitution with a curial right, therefore defining this standing in the Hague Conventions, You must now understand very clearly that you form part of an administrative government, and the oath that you took is to that administrative government. It is not to the Commonwealth of Australia de jure and occupied people 1st of March 1967. We could go back further to abdication of the throne and the twisting of an empire and the division and takeover of 54 other countries. This financial nightmare that has included a mandate for Palestine is being very evidently shown before all of you, while Dutton speaks very loudly against the words of elbow. What's going on at the end of usufruct, everybody in that parliament, while we, the naked owners, stand up and say to you, we will not put up with this corruption anymore. We will not put up with any more of these war crimes. We will not put up with the crimes against nature anymore. We will not put up with the crimes of usufruct anymore. We will not put up with the fraud that is going on in this parliament anymore. You will adhere to the law, Pauline. You will start to ring the Australian Federal Police, and you will make sure that all these politicians adhere to the line of authority established by Justice Lonergan in the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Administration may take place, but even in that administration, you're obligated to the Hague Conventions and all the laws that are put down in this country to be seen before justices. And I ask all these justices not to be lenient anymore. You understand there are 2 crowns on the table now. You understand that this is an administrative power and they are obligated to duties of office. Hold them to their duties of office at the full extent of the law. This is where we're at, people. This is where we're at when we have a political parliament that doesn't obey the law and treats the law as if it's politics. This is where we're at when we have a minority population openly, treacherously creating treason within the office of the Prime Minister, along with the office of the Prime Minister. This is what we get when we have a declaration of war from a minority citizen population acting like it's not a citizen population, enabling the treason to be committed in the office of Prime Minister. This is the direct responsibility of Pat Anderson, who is Order of Australia. This directly involves the Order of Australia in what is going on inside the Prime Minister's office right now. This is an act of treason. This is an act of treachery. This is an act of sabotage against the Constitution and the very country itself. And they've been caught out doing it. Peter Credlin, I hope you listen. I hope you realise I've been doing this for over 15 years. These people are nasty individuals and they've been caught out finally at their game. This includes Liberal, Labor and Greens. This is not a party game. This is a criminal action that has occurred within the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia across the board. Peter Credlin, I hope you report succinctly on what's going on, because I am now putting the law on the table and this is no longer a political game. This is no longer a media game. This is a technical act of law against the Constitution, where we bring up acts of treason, treachery, sabotage, where we bring up foreign administration by foreign administrative powers that have created a fraud and defrauded the people, put themselves in more debt. This is not about continuing an economy. This is about the full control of this country by administrative powers that will not let a people come out of debt. They continually put you in debt so that they can continue to administer this government. They've been caught out doing international war crimes in that administration. They have acted like they are above the law for almost 25 years. This has come to a crunch point where they must now realise that the Australian population have had enough. We will not go into civil war if that's what you are pushing us into. We will turn our sights on you as administrators and criminals. We will turn our sights on you, all of you in that parliament, all of the House of Representatives, any party or independent. We will turn on you, all of the Senate, for failing in your duties to uphold the Constitution and keep the Parliament to account. You are unable to keep the Senate to account, Pauline. You have made a mockery of the Senate and the Parliament. You have made a mockery of this Constitution and the people, merely by sitting in that Parliament with a bunch of criminals and not being able to bring them to account. Governor General, as I said before, the gig's up. It's time now for you to go and address the Parliament and advise them that they have committed criminal offences, and advise them that you are party to those criminal offences. And these accusations are being sent worldwide. It is time for you to understand now that we will not put up with the crimes that are going on in that government and that Parliament anymore. It's time for you to realise that the people lowered a blue ensign in Canberra and raised a federal red over that flagpole and denied your federal police anywhere near it. It is time for you to realise that the people are strong like that and have had enough. Governor General, it is time for you to clean up house. It is time internationally to come forth and clean up house. Those that just followed orders should be found guilty of the crimes of that which they followed. And those that issued orders under a Yamashita protocol should be found guilty of the crimes in which they gave. The crunch point has come, Governor General, where God puts his flex out and says down on the table, clean up his house. He says, clean it up immediately and start making progress. The people have had enough, Governor General. And with that, Pauline, I sign off, because next time we're going to look into the acts of slavery, the person, the Roman person of law, and the two crown situation that is now defined on the Supreme Court record. That's where we go next. So Pauline, I suggest that you start to listen.